Well, good evening everybody, it's Zero back at you again with some more History Buff React videos, and today we are doing Daniel Dancer, History's Biggest Cheapskate by Nella. No idea who this guy is, but you can imagine it's going to go interestingly. Are you ready to go? I certainly am. Let's do it.
This video is sponsored by Skillshare.
Oh, it's turning to ASMR this music.
Hey kids,
Hi, Sam.
You're probably familiar with at least a few characters whose obsessive penny pinching truly knows no bounds. Yes,
definitely.
from Ebenezer Scrooge to Scrooge McDuck. Nobody hoards money quite like misers. But these guys aren't the most miserly misers out there, not by a long shot. First of all, look at their top hats, their extravagant use of glasses, their luxurious chairs. These things are worth their weight in precious shekels. No true miser would waste their wealth on such frills. Second of all, these guys aren't real. They're fictional characters. Scrooge McDuck does not exist. I don't care what CNN says. It's all liberal conspiracy bullshit. I mean, look at this article by the Huffington Post. You mean to tell me that this picture isn't photoshopped? Ridiculous. But you know who was real? One Daniel Dancer of London, England. Born in 1716, Daniel's father died at a young age, leaving behind a large agricultural estate for Daniel to oversee. When it was first inherited, the property brought in a few £100s a year, which doesn't sound like much today, but given that a general laborer could be expected to make around £19 per year in 1710, it's safe to say that Dancer could afford to live a fairly lavish lifestyle off his passive income alone. But Dan was like, you know, all this food and clothing and stuff is alright, but you know what I really like? Owning money. Say, how much does a pound cost? Well, that's a complicated question, Daniel. Can currency really be said to have intrinsic value? Some economists believe that. TLDR, please. They cost £1. Jesus, that's a lot. I better start saving. Thus began one of the most intentionally frugal lifestyles history has ever seen. Let me walk you through a few of Dancer's day-to-day habits. First of all, soap, don't even think about it. The closest thing to bathing that Daniel did was during the summer months when, once or twice a week, he'd wade into the nearby pond and scrub his face with a handful of sand. Say what you will, but what he lacked in deodorization, he certainly made up for in exfoliation. Admittedly, all of London probably reeked to high hell back then, so while Daniel's smell might not have tipped people off to his eccentricity, his clothes almost certainly did. On a good day, he'd be seen in one of his coats, which were homemade patchwork abominations of various garments that Dancer found on the streets and local dust heaps, looking like a walking dementia patient sewing circle. Similarly, all his shoes were either scavenged or Frankensteined out of other pairs of shoes he already owned, with the whole ensemble being barely held together with haphazardly tied bands made of the hay grown on his estate. In fact, a lot of the time, he'd ditch normal clothes altogether and just wear the hay. To his credit, in his youth, Daniel was known to purchase a whole 2 shirts per year as his clothing expense. But one day he looked in the mirror and said, "Daniel, you're bleeding funds like a stuck pig. It's time to grow up and get your act together." And cut his budget to only 1 shirt per year. One of the few people that Daniel associated
This is bad. I know some people who like to save money. I'm not one of those people. I'm a magpie. I like shiny things. But this is extreme. Imagine having that much of an income, but then literally not spending any of it. That's really weird. Like, if you had that much money, you would spend at least a bit, wouldn't you? You'd like to save up a lot, obviously. You'd save up some money, definitely. But 99% of your money being saved is a bit extreme, I think.
With regularly was his sister, whom he lived with. Believe it or not, she shared in a lot of Daniel's tight-fisted habits, and it definitely showed. She was described as, quote, having more the appearance of a walking dunghill than one of the fair sex. Couldn't have said it better myself, honestly. Dancer prepared all of his food for the upcoming
For the times, that's pretty scathing. Holy crap.
Week ahead of time, consisting of only 14 hard dumplings and 3 pounds of beef stretched out over the entire 7-day period. Every day, he'd eat only a single meal that was basically equivalent to 2 wads of dried out dough and 1.5 quarter-pounder patties from McDonald's. He kept this habit up for years without fail, except for one time when he stumbled upon a fully intact, rotting sheep carcass during his daily stroll. He was like, "Good lord, this is just obscene. Who would leave a perfectly good pile of arguably edible meat and organs just sitting around like this?" So he dragged the thing home and made him and his sister a nice big pile of spoiled mutton pies, which they subsisted off of for several weeks. That's a real life hack right there. Who needs refrigeration if it's already rancid, am I right? Despite Daniel's rabid fear of any unnecessary spending, he did own a dog named Bob that he was quite fond of. At this point, I'm almost certain that Dancer just decided to base his entire life off of linoleum by no effect. effects, which is pretty incredible considering linoleum wasn't even invented for another 100 years. Anyway though, one day, Daniel's neighbor
Okay.
came to complain about how Bob had been harassing his sheep. So Daniel said, "Don't worry boy, I ain't gonna kill
that's
you,
with my
but
eye.
we don't want a lawsuit on our hands, do we?" "No we don't. What would we do if a lawyer came around here, huh?" "That's right, and make his children watch, yeah." So he decided to take the dog to the local farrier, which is
Jesus.
basically a blacksmith that specializes in horseshoes and the like. "Hey, could you make my
Okay.
dog, like, not have teeth anymore?" What kind of business you think I'm running here, boy?" "Come on, man, you file down horses' hooves for a living. Teeth are just tiny
Jesus.
mouth hooves. That's close." "Sorry,
Tiny
buddy, but
mouth
close only
hooves.
counts in horseshoes and hand grenades." Well, got me there. Say, what's a hand grenade? None of my sources say what happened to
What?
the dog after his
Okay.
untimely nubbening, but I do know Dan never got sued, so I guess the operation was a success. Daniel's sister passed away in 1766,
Jesus
leaving him
Christ,
so
man.
distraught that he actually went out of his way to buy mourning clothes for her funeral. And by that I mean he bought a pair of secondhand black stockings, and that's it. Still, that's a big deal when it comes to the likes of Dancer. At this point, the only person close to a friend that Dancer had was a woman known as Lady Tempest. She was so influential over him that she was actually able to convince him to buy, get this, a 1 shilling hat. This was quite an accomplishment, as Daniel's last hat was older than half of you at 14 years old.
What? I'm not. You don't.
Meow. You. Of course, the next time Lady
Well, that
Tempest went to
escalated.
hang out with him, he was still wearing his old disgusting hat. When questioned about the one he bought, he goes,
Jesus.
"Oh yeah, that frilly old thing. Sold it for a 6 pence profit. Super easy too. I tell you, forget house flipping.
Oh my
Hat
God.
flipping's gonna be the cool new thing pretty soon."
So you bought the new hat? What the fuck? Okay, we'll get to that in a minute. Don't know what's going on there. So he literally bought the new hat and sold it for a tiny profit, and he was happy with that. Like, you just bought a new hat. Why didn't you keep it? Oh God.
Lo and behold, 250 years later, he was
Oh,
wrong.
okay. Jesus Christ.
Daniel died at the ripe old age of 78, which seems pretty shocking considering the whole not
Oh,
using
God.
soap, eating rotten food thing, but I guess his near total isolation from other people made up for that when it came to preventing illness. Though he never ended
Well,
up
true.
shelling out any of the massive hoard of wealth that he accumulated over this time, his efforts weren't completely in vain. By the time he passed away, Daniel's estate was now pulling in about £3,000 in yearly net revenue, 10 times the amount it
Damn.
earned when he first inherited it. So, moral of the story, parsimony has its place. While it's good to save money, don't torture yourself just for the sake of a few bucks. Next time your parent or significant other insists on turning
advice.
down the
Good advice,
thermostat or
Max.
keeping the windows up to save gas, just say, "Hey, are we human? Or are we Dancer?" But you know what else is more valuable than
Oh,
money?
that's terrible.
Knowledge.
That's why you need to try
That's terrible.
Skillshare.com.
Oh, that joke made me angry. That's a terrible bloody joke. Oh no. Oh no. Oh. That's awful. I genuinely hate that joke. Oh God, well that was good. That was good. Yeah, never heard of him. Definitely a Scrooge. That's for sure, but my God, I've heard of some people like that. That's extreme. Wow. That's going to be the end of the video. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you did enjoy it, make sure to like and subscribe, and also share and to comment, just so we can wake that YouTube bot up and actually get some recommendations out into the big yonder that is YouTube. But if you enjoyed, make sure you check out over here. You will see the most recent video apart from this one at the top. And down below that, you will see the History Buff Reacts playlist that has all of the videos on it so far. But I've been Zero. This has been Daniel Dancer. Bye, Nella. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.